Tonight on Q2, shattered windows. A case of mass vandalism grows even larger.
It's bad because a lot of people could be living paycheck to paycheck.
Police now say the windows of nearly 100 cars were shot out or destroyed in a 15-block spree. Plus a brutal attack involving Billings teens.
What's a horrible incident, and my heart goes out to the victims.
A 15-year-old is repeatedly punched, kicked, and dragged, raising more concerns about teen violence. Your MTN 10 o'clock news starts right now.
From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thanks for starting your week with us. I'm Russ Riesinger. Tonight, Billings police continue to investigate a rash of mass vandalism, now much larger than originally thought. Nearly 100 vehicles' windows were shot out during a weekend crime spree, and 2 businesses were also possibly targeted. Our Charlie Kleps has the latest on the crimes and the additional work it means for some.
Many of those cases were reported from here on Terry Avenue. Originally, Billings police said there was about 51 cases, but over the weekend they received more reports. That number has now nearly doubled, and that leaves glass shops in Billings extremely busy.
It was demoralizing a little bit. It was disappointing for sure.
When Miguel Hernandez heard that his business window had been shattered Friday night, he couldn't believe it.
My first thought was like, why? Who? It's like there's no reason to just go around and vandalize people's properties.
Hernandez was in the process of establishing a storefront for his food truck, La Taquiera. The shattered window adds to an already painstaking process.
It's more work, so now instead of focusing on getting some of the stuff organized, I gotta kind of step back, pause, and then take care of this.
His reality also felt by many car owners in Billings. Police aren't sure the same suspects are connected to both scenes, but over the weekend, 91 car windows were also reported broken in Midtown Billings from Terry Avenue up to Lewis.
It was phone calls nonstop. We've already done 10 or 12 of them today.
Those car windows backing up glass businesses in town. Taryn Lynch at Glass Specialist says they've been trying to get customers' windows fixed all day.
We already have 4 or 5 of these tomorrow, and it carries on through the week. So it's probably going to be a weekly ordeal.
Anytime there's ever any vandalism and stuff, it kind of gets pretty hectic.
And Glass Specialist isn't alone. Over at Speedy Auto Glass, they too have been packed with customers. So much so that some are being put on a 2-week waiting list.
The best case scenario is we have it in stock with our local supplier. And if they don't have it, but can get it, we can get it out of Phoenix, but it usually takes about 2 weeks.
A problem felt by many and is sure to leave a lasting impact as more and more reports of vandalism continue to come to BPD.
So there's no respect for other people's properties and what they work for.
In Billings, Charlie Kleps, MTN News.
The animal hospital located in the Heights had its business windows broken out twice this week. The first happened Thursday night, where one window was broken by a rod. The second happening just last night, where 2 windows were broken by a rock. Employees believe that one woman is behind the vandalism, but a motive remains unclear. Video has been turned over to the Billings police, and they're investigating. Teen violence is on our minds, and tonight another example of a growing problem. Kids assaulting each other. This is some disturbing video from back in August when several kids were shown fighting after a party with one of the victims left knocked out. Well, tonight we're learning of another brutal beating of a West High student allegedly attacked by another group of teens. Arlena Howder looked through the court documents which spell out some disturbing details.
This is where that chain of events started, this field right next to West High. In court documents, authorities describe a horrific attack that happened right here, with another student being beaten to the point where he had to be taken to the hospital.
It's a quiet and typical day at Billings West High, a stark contrast from what happened just across the street on January 8th.
Regardless if it's an adult or a child, you don't want to see anything like this happening to anyone in our community.
Right around noon that day, this empty field was the scene of a horrific attack. According to police, 19-year-old Zachary Westerin and 18-year-old Michael Thornack repeatedly punched, kicked, and dragged a 15-year-old boy, only known by his initials, AG. According to court documents, witness video shows the brutality of the attack, saying AG is, quote, helpless and does not fight back. Court documents also say video shows one suspect taking off AG's Air Jordan shoes before stomping him on the face.
Well, it's a horrible incident, and my heart goes out to the victims.
Gordon Klasna is the executive director of secondary education for Billings Public Schools. He says these incidents are on the district's radar.
We've been working closely with law enforcement and our school resource officers as part of the Billings Police Department to make sure there is a good coverage of that area at lunch hour and throughout the school day.
But the alleged incident on the field was just the first of two for this group of teens that day. Police say the second happened in an apartment on Lake Elmo Drive after Zachary Westerin had been kicked out of his apartment by a roommate. Westerin and a group of other teens allegedly attacked the 29-year-old victim known as CK. During the attack, court documents say one of the suspects smashed a chair over his back, with a responding officer saying the man's living room was, quote, destroyed. Several items were also broken, including a TV, and the man's Xbox was stolen. That victim was also taken to the hospital. Thornack and Westerin are both now facing felony charges, including assault with a weapon and robbery. In Billings, Alina Howder, MTN News.
Incidents such as these can obviously have a great impact on parents as they worry about their kids' safety each and every day. Tonight, a nationally renowned school psychologist visited with parents and staff of schools and spoke of the toll that teen violence can have. David J. shares the story.
Psychologist Dr. Lisa Stroman came to Billings to talk with parents about mental health and social media. She gave parents some information they can use to help their children. And she says sometimes the social media influence can lead to violence. Incidents such as this last August and the one at West that was revealed this week were recorded and put on social media.
Violence is the one sure thing that they know how to do and how to perpetuate that online.
Dr. Lisa Stroman has been a clinical psychologist for 23 years and worked with thousands of families and kids. She says anxiety and depression sometimes lead to a challenge or encouragement to commit a crime that can be shown on social media.
They're trying to find a cohort that they can blend in with. And so we tend to see those kids that are kind of those bad actors in violence kind of come together and go out and create these pockets of issues of disturbing the peace or vandalism or things like that.
Dr. Stroman also talked about pornography, gaming, and substance abuse, and says bad behaviors can develop for kids living in the social media world.
They're trying to figure out who they are as a person, and instead of having their families come in and give the primary influence, it's now peer and online worlds and social media that are influencing them at the highest rates.
And parents face the battle and challenge of minimizing that influence.
You kind of feel like you're a hostage as a parent because you don't want to take away their friends, you don't want to take away their ability to have friends and to communicate.
Stroman says parents can be a good example and look at their own screen time and watch for changes in behavior.
Are they eating the same? Are they smiling as much? Are they spending more time in their room? What are the things that you're recognizing, those behavioral signs that you as a parent can come in and say, hey, what's going on?
And that's the information some parents need.
Just being conscious and being present is extremely important.
So we have to be able to give them the lessons and the education so that they can use it for good and not for evil.
In Billings, David J., MTN News.
So many pictures tonight. We only have a chance to show a few of them. Check out the duck. It looks like he's walking on the water here. Kyle, thanks for sharing that one where we're seeing a lot of the melting going on, but a lot of your pictures were about the beautiful colors as we got into sunset, especially as you start looking into northern Wyoming. You had a lot of great photos to be able to share. There's some of the water as we start looking around the Cody area. And then also as we start checking out areas into the Beartooth, brilliant colors into the evening. Great chance to photographs for tonight. Then again, here we go with Bob, and he's showing some of the water. These things are starting to melt around Dead Man's Basin, and a great shot from Greg Wise. Really beautiful colors again from northern Wyoming. Thanks for sharing at weather@ktvq.com.
President Biden is promising to respond to the drone attack in Jordan Sunday that killed 3 U.S. service members and wounded more than 40 others. That incident was the first deadly attack on U.S. troops in the Middle East since the war in Gaza began. Skylar Henry reports from Washington.
The names of the soldiers killed: Sergeant William Rivers, Specialist Breonna Moffett, and Specialist Kennedy Sanders, All were based at Fort Moore in Georgia.
We will respond decisively to any aggression, and we will hold responsible the people who attacked our troops.
The drone strike on a base known as Tower 22 in northeast Jordan was the U.S. military's worst loss of life to enemy action since the fall of Afghanistan. CBS News has learned initial reports show the enemy drone was approaching. At the same time, an American drone was returning. At the time, U.S. air defenses were temporarily disabled. The White House blames Iranian-backed rebels for carrying out Sunday's strike that hit while the troops were in their sleeping quarters.
We do know that Iran-backed militias are responsible for continued attacks on U.S. forces in the region.
President Biden met with national security advisors in the White House Situation Room to assess the U.S. response.
We do not seek another war. We do not seek to escalate. But we will absolutely do what is required to protect ourselves.
American forces have been the target of 165 attacks since October 17th, and the U.S. has launched 7 retaliatory strikes against Iranian-backed militias. Some Republican lawmakers say that's not enough.
Until we send a strong message to Iran that we're not going to tolerate this, they will continue to hit our troops in the region.
A U.S. official tells CBS News it appears a drone used in the Jordan attack is like those Iran has been providing to Russia for its war on Ukraine. Skyler Henry, CBS News, Washington.
On Capitol Hill, Senate negotiators could unveil a bipartisan border security compromise this week. That deal, months in the making, looks to give the president new power to halt border crossings after hitting a certain threshold. It could also raise the standard to qualify for asylum seekers and speed up the process. And it puts limits on the president's ability to grant humanitarian parole to migrants, which the Biden administration has used. Former President Trump is urging Republicans to scrap it, but some of his allies are fighting to keep it alive. The U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs announced today that community-based suicide prevention organizations can apply for a share of more than $52 million in grant money. That money can be used to support mental health screenings, case management, peer support, emergency clinical services, and other similar suicide prevention measures. This will be the third round of funding. In September of 2023, the VA awarded grants totaling $52.5 million to 80 community-based organizations in 43 states. Still to come on the MTN 10 o'clock news here on Q2. A Billings couple searching for answers and a driver after they say they were hit in a Walmart parking lot. And racing to read. Students across Billings and Hardin receive new books today, all thanks to your donations. We'll explain in just a bit.